This morning in the Sunday Spotlight, the Arizona U.S. Senate race already taking shape. While it is a long while until you go to the polls to make your pick, interest in the race building quickly. Some candidates are in, others are lining up, and at stake, an important seat with potentially a lot of influence. Here is why. With the Senate so evenly split right now, the political party in that Arizona U.S. Senate seat could help decide the future of big local and national issues. And there is a range of them, from healthcare to immigration and education. Here's where we are right now. Former gubernatorial candidate Kari Lake not making a decision yet on what to do about this race. Meanwhile, Democrat Ruben Gallego, one of the first to throw his hat in the ring. And one big Republican so far, Pinal County Sheriff Mark Lamb, is also in. The big question this morning, what will Kyrsten Sinema, Arizona's independent senator, the one in that seat now, do moving forward? I break this all down and what it means for you and the rest of Southern Arizona with Dr. Lisa Sanchez from the University of Arizona School of Government and Public Policy.
Well, if you like high drama, this is the highest drama you can get in an election. You have an independent incumbent who's sort of struggling, who has been censured by her party, so she's a little bit weaker. You have Ruben Gallegos coming in, who is, a more seasoned candidate than we usually see run against an incumbent. And he's Latino, so that plays very well in a state that has a large Latino population. You have kind of the Trump, a schism in the Republican Party for the Trump loyalists and the more mainstream sort of like Doug Ducey type candidates. So I think this election, it has it all. And I think that's why there's so much attention on it.
There's a lot of national interest in this too, not just because of the drama, but because of the balance of power, because the Senate is so close. And we saw in 2022, a lot of people thought that this state would have decided the balance of power. Could that be the case again in 24?
I think it's definitely in the realm of possibilities. Arizona has been actually pretty fortunate to be in this situation because it means that, whoever, the Arizona electorate decides is going to be in the Senate could potentially play a really important role in balance of power, as you suggest. But also, if you think about the role that Kyrsten Sinema has played in the Senate in the last couple of years, she's one of the most moderate members, right? So that puts Arizona at the center of every single decision that goes through the Senate. And so potentially we could lose that, right? If we don't end up with as moderate a candidate or somebody who is quite as cross-pressured. So if you end up with more of a mainline Republican or even a more extreme Republican or even a mainline or extreme Democrat, well, then they just sort of fade into the background of the parties, right? So there is maybe more than just this national attention on the balance of power. For Arizona, we could also lose sort of a little bit of power.
So let's talk about the candidates. There's already a number of Republicans in this. They're on the screen. The question really is about what is former gubernatorial candidate Kari Lake going to do? If she enters, a lot of talk about that, a lot of talk about maybe not doing it versus doing it. It's all over the place. But if she enters, what do you think that means for the other Republican candidates? Did she just walk away with a nomination?
It's hard to say this early. Primaries are unpredictable. They end, and then I think you also have a piece here of Kari Lake also being a defeated candidate. So a lot of those who are throwing their hat into the ring on both sides have been defeated in elections before. That's never a good place to be if you're running for something as high as the U.S. Senate. So I don't think it's a slam dunk, but I do think there is some noise around her maybe having a little more support than others.
So to the Democrats, you mentioned Ruben Gallego. He's already in. The person in the seat now, independent Kyrsten Sinema. We know she left the party. I've asked her many times. Many people have asked her many times what she's going to do. Very no response. But what do you think happens? Where does she go?
Yeah, Kyrsten Sinema is just doing what politicians do. So her best bet is to wait it out, right? To see who's going to enter and then make her calculus based off of that. So she's really in no rush. And that's politically a smart thing to do. I think if she enters the race, though, things get really interesting because the ideology of the three candidates starts to be really important, right? So it potentially sets up as maybe the stealer of votes from maybe the majority candidate. and who stands to benefit, in other words, from having a third person in a race is always the big question. And that really can't be decided until all three, who we know, all three who have gone through their primaries are going to be.
Talking about 2022, we saw a ton of money come in for these races, for Mark Kelly, for Blake Masters, for all of them. Just given what's on the line, not just here, but widening it out to a national view, just how important is this seat?
I mean, this seat it's one of the toss-up seats. So Cook Partisan puts it at a toss-up. And, that means that it's anyone's game, which also means that there's going to be so much attention on this race nationally. And after sort of Citizens United was passed was decided, and we can have unlimited expenditures by super PACs, that means that money is going to be flooding in from everywhere outside of this race. So it's going to be probably much more expensive and much higher stakes as a result of that.
Let's end where you started, talking about drama in Arizona. It's not going anywhere in this race.
No, it is not going anywhere in this race. And I know it has serious, impacts on the citizenry, but from somebody who studies this, it's fascinating. It's a test case for sure.
And no matter what happens as this race heats up, political experts say the campaign will be two things: divisive and nasty. We'll track this race as it develops and talk to the candidates so you know where everyone stands and what's on the line. That is it for this week's Sunday Spotlight. I'm Andrew Capasso. Join me again here next Sunday morning at 6 when we take a deeper dive into the issues impacting your family and your wallet. 13 News Live this morning with Sabria continues after this quick break.